Okay, let's dive right into this because the landscape of retirement planning literally just shifted beneath our feet. For years, the National Pension System, NPS, has been that one government backed investment option that everyone knew existed, but honestly, a lot of us hesitated to fully jump into. Well, guess what? The system just got a massive, highly anticipated upgrade. We're calling it NPS 3.0. In today's explainer, we're going to break down exactly what changed, why it's a huge deal, and how you can strategically leverage these brand new rules to build some serious wealth. Here's the roadmap for what we're covering today. First, the unstoppable rise of NPS. Second, how equity limits were finally removed. Third, better lock-ins and withdrawals. Fourth, escaping the annuity trap. Fifth, supercharged corporate tax savings. And finally, managing your retirement smartly. We are going straight after the biggest myths surrounding the old rules, so you'll want to stick with me for this. Section 1. The unstoppable rise of NPS. To really appreciate how game-changing this upgrade is, we kind of have to look at a fascinating paradox. How did this vehicle grow so rapidly despite having some pretty frustrating restrictions in the past? Take a look at this staggering number. Back around 2019 and 2020, the corporate and all-citizen models of NPS had roughly 22 lakh subscribers and an asset under management of about 54,000 crore rupees. But fast forward to the 2025 to 2026 projections, that subscriber base has tripled to 75 lakhs. And the assets under management? An absolute mind-blowing 7 times growth to 349,000 crore rupees. And the wildest part is, it hit this explosive growth despite 3 major historical roadblocks. Now, if you've looked at NPS in the past and just walked away, these 3 roadblocks probably validate exactly why you were frustrated. These were the pain points everybody hated. Your equity exposure was strictly capped at 75%, your money was rigidly locked away until you hit 60 years old, and when it finally matured, you were literally forced to use 40% of your money to buy a low-yielding annuity pension plan. Now, despite all those limits, NPS returns were still beating a lot of mutual funds. But to truly compete in today's market, the system needed a massive overhaul. And thankfully, that is exactly what was delivered. Section 2, equity limits finally removed. Let's get into the first massive solution rolling out with the multiple scheme framework after October 1st, 2025. This right here is an absolute game changer. They actually fixed the equity problem. While the older, common schemes that cap equity at 75% are still going to be around, pension fund managers are now allowed to launch brand new schemes with up to 100% equity exposure. That means NPS is now competing directly with mutual funds. On top of that, alternate investment funds, so things like REITs, gold, and silver, they've been merged entirely into the equity class. So what does this actually mean for you? Well, it depends on your age, but tactically, it's brilliant. If you're under 40, you don't have to settle for that old 75% cap anymore. You can allocate a full 100% of your funds into equity schemes. Then, between 40 and 50, as you start wanting a bit more stability, you can smoothly shift new investments over to corporate bonds. And once you're past 50, you just gradually move that corpus into ultra-safe government bonds. Oh, and to manage these new 100% equity funds, the expense ratio cap was bumped to 3%, which honestly is still incredibly cheap and highly competitive compared to most mutual funds out there today. Section 3. Better lock-ins and withdrawals. Let's talk about liquidity and how this new framework totally solves the second major hurdle, that dreaded 60-year lock-in period that basically scared off any young investor. Under the new rules, maturity happens at 15 years of investment or at age 60, whichever one comes first. Just think about that for a second. If you start investing when you're 25, your NPS is totally unlocked and matures when you hit 40. You can choose to stay invested if you want to, but the point is you actually have the choice now. Now, quick heads up, there is one small catch. Units bought in these new schemes are locked with that specific fund manager for 15 years. It's a smart move by the government, so fund managers actually focus on bringing new investors into the system rather than just poaching from each other. Okay, but what if life happens and you actually need money during that 15-year period? Well, the mid-tenure liquidity has been beautifully upgraded too. You're now allowed 4 partial withdrawals during your tenure, as long as there's a 4-year gap between them. You can pull out up to 25% of your own contributions. Or, and this is a really cool new feature, instead of withdrawing and draining your retirement corpus, you actually have the option to just pledge your contribution to get a loan. It is all about giving you flexibility. Section 4. Escaping the annuity trap. Say goodbye to the strict 40% mandate. This addresses the final and probably the loudest historical complaint investors had. being forced to buy a low-yielding pension plan at maturity.
The rules here have softened significantly, so let's walk through these new tiers because they are so much better. If your final corpus is under 8 lakhs, you can just withdraw 100% of it immediately. No annuity required at all. If your corpus sits between 8 and 12 lakhs, you can take out an 80% lump sum, and that remaining 20%, it gets paid out to you via a systematic withdrawal plan, or SWP, over 6 years with interest. So again, zero mandatory annuity there.
Now, of course, because this is a long-term retirement tool, most of us are aiming for a corpus that grows way beyond 12 lakhs, right up into the crores. For those larger corpuses, the old 60-40 rule has been slashed to an 80-20 rule. Let's do the math on that. Say you build up a substantial 4 crore rupee corpus. Under the old rules, you'd have to lock up a massive chunk of that. Today, you get an impressive 3.2 crore rupees as an instant, tax-free lump sum. Only the remaining 20% has to go into an annuity. It drastically reduces that burden while putting a huge tax-free lump sum straight into your hands.
Section 5. Supercharged corporate tax savings. Speaking of tax-free money, let's pivot to the incredible advantage NPS 3.0 offers for salaried professionals, especially if you're navigating the new tax regime, where most traditional deductions have basically vanished.
If you are looking for a highly efficient wealth-generating strategy for high earners, this is exactly what you've been waiting for. Under Section 80CCD2, the tax deduction limit for employer contributions into your NPS just got a major bump. It used to be capped at 10% of your basic salary plus dearness allowance. Well, the new limit is now a very generous 14%. So what does that percentage jump actually mean for your wallet? Under this section, you can route up to 7.5 lakh rupees via your employer directly into your NPS, completely exempt from tax. Let's say you're sitting in the 30% tax bracket. Shielding that 7.5 lakhs saves you a direct 2.25 lakhs in taxes every single year. Yes, the money is locked for 15 years, but remember, it can now be exposed to 100% equity, meaning it has the potential to generate some fantastic compounding returns. And it all comes out tax-free at maturity. It is honestly just an incredible deal.
Section 6. Managing your retirement smartly. Okay, so the rules have changed, the strict limits are gone, and the tax savings are huge. But how does this actually impact specific life situations? And practically speaking, how do you manage this newly upgraded system? Well, beyond all those primary rules, we also saw some incredibly compassionate and practical structural upgrades. For instance, senior citizens receiving large gratuity payouts can now park that money into NPS for equity returns, and upon passing, 100% of it transfers to their nominees completely tax-free. Non-resident Indians can now withdraw 100% of their funds immediately if they give up their citizenship. And in the tragic event of a deceased or missing person, 20% of the corpus is released instantly to the family based on just a simple declaration or FIR copy. No heavy paperwork required, ensuring the family gets immediate financial support when they need it most. Now, actually managing all these new schemes, the multiple fund managers, and the withdrawal rules on the older government portals, well, it can still be a bit clunky. Navigating these new complexities is honestly a lot easier with dedicated tech platforms that operate transparently right on top of the government framework. Take Pension Box, for example, which is backed by Zerodha. It's a fully registered platform where you can access all the new schemes in one single place, track your goals, and execute instant withdrawals. And the best part is that these tech layers don't charge any hidden app fees. You literally just pay the standard, heavily regulated NPS expense ratio. We have covered a lot of ground today. We've seen how the biggest hurdles of the past have been completely knocked down. You now have mutual fund level equity exposure, you have a clear 15-year maturity path so you're not waiting until you're 60, and the tax benefits for salary professionals are pretty much unmatched in the current regime. So I have to leave you with this final thought. Can you really afford to ignore this system anymore? Take a hard look at your retirement portfolio today and see how NPS 3.0 might just be the exact upgrade you've been waiting for. Keep learning, keep structuring your wealth, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.